You know, I've never regretted making you my partner. I've never regretted being yours. I just feel right by your side. I feel home. I feel like we get each other, you know? You never judge me for my mistakes. I never hold you against yours. We just work. We just fit. I feel comfortable by your side all these years. It's been beautiful. It really is. And look, I'll say it. I love you. I love you, greatsword. Hello, my fellow hunters. I think it's fair to say, although it's definitely subtle and I don't mention it often, so you might not have picked up on it or noticed, but I rather like the greatsword. It has always been my weapon of choice, my favorite, my friend, my lover. And I can't ever imagine meaning anything else. But what I can't imagine yet is a greatsword in Monster Hunter 6, in the 6th generation, in the next game, whatever form that takes. And whenever it does get revealed, whether that be in December or we have to wait till next year, I am very curious and perhaps a little nervous, excited too, but nervous as to where the greatsword is going to go. But before we get into the meat of this, how about the meat of this?
So tasty!
If you ever try and tell me you've never dreamt, as I have, about storing your precious belongings inside of a well-done steak, well then you know you're not just lying to me, you're lying to yourself. A huge thank you to TomTok for sponsoring today's videos with their incredible range of Monster Hunter themed bags. You've got sling bags, you've got accessory bags, you've got pelico bags, you've got palamute bags, you've got meat bags, you've got royal order bags. You've got everything that you need right here, and all of it is currently having a 20% off sale if you're in the US, the UK, or Europe, and you can find the link for that down below, so if you like what you see, well, that's the place to be. And seriously, these things are great. As soon as I saw them, I was more than happy to share them with you guys. They are solidly built, they are sturdy, and they just feel great to actually use. I personally, of course, outside of the steak one, really like the Royal Order ones. I love the color scheme on it. I'm, of course, a sucker for black, gold, red, and white, so really it's kind of perfect, and I think they're just absolutely, honestly, adorable. So if you're in the need for a new bag, well, there is a very good chance that these are the bags that you need. For now then, on with the show. Because I feel like, while every weapon has of course evolved a lot over the years, and I think a lot of people who have played all the generations of Monster Hunter, seen all the forms of their favorite weapon, have perhaps an ideal mix or one particular incarnation that on the whole really hit right, that nothing else has quite done before or since. I think greatsword particularly has really been through, weirdly, a lot of changes for what is, on paper, the simplest weapon, in terms of literally what it does and its moveset. It requires more than any other weapon, more intimate knowledge of the monster and its moveset, but you're not over here blasting out 57 million button presses to do a ridiculous combo like Charge Blade, and that is something that I am eternally grateful for. The weapon's skill coming from the legendary Gotcha, bitch! Moments and how they've evolved through the years is something I think is fantastic. And it's always been brutally punishing trying to play the greatsword without that monster knowledge, without that experience, without a intimate feel for both timing and positioning. I genuinely believe it's one of the lowest skill floor weapons, but one of the highest skill ceilings, and that's really good design. But I do think that it has been trending maybe a little bit too easy to use, or at least effectively, especially when you look at Sunbreak, where greatsword has fallen into a, let's say, a bit of a pigeonholed use case.
Hello there. I would like to purchase 1,000 tiny bombs. To use on monsters, right? Yes? Oh, not this again!
This is quite the predicament.
With how ludicrously powerful strong arm stance is, and the entire weapon has warped around it, which, don't get me wrong, is fine for a game in a generation, but is certainly not something that I ever want to see just become a permanent part of the weapon. We don't want, or at least I don't, greatsword to be a counter-based weapon. I just don't think that fits. It doesn't make sense. It is supposed to be big, bulky, slow, hard-hitting. You avoid, then return, doing this slick sort of swing smack, you know, longsword style. Just kinda doesn't work for me. I love the numbers. I love the power, you know. We play this weapon because seeing the large hits fills in the great void left in every greatsword player's heart by the sadness all around them. Just me. And, you know, it does that very well. But I just don't think it's greatsword's style to be countering things. So I really wanted to talk about what might Monster Hunter 6 greatsword look like, which then basically means what I want to see from it, as there's no way to know what direction it will go yet. The fact that we started off in Monster Hunter 1 with just literally the 3 basic up slash, side slash, backward slash, and you just did that on repeat. You weren't even charging yet. You know, charging at one point wasn't synonymous with greatsword, whereas now that's kind of its thing. Although, to loop that back to strong arm and how much it's affected greatsword and Sunbreak, you can kind of argue that now charging isn't a thing, because you don't need focus, you don't need to charge to play strong arm, which is the best way to play the weapon, which is certainly interesting. It almost feels like we've come full circle, but in a very different way. In any case, the second gen form of literally just draw into triple charge, hit, sheath, crit draw, hit and run, that iconic way of sword grating, I think is always going to have a special place in my heart. I think it is inarguably perhaps too simple for this day and age, where people want a little bit more from their combat and their weapon, more to do, more to think about, more options, but I do find its straightforward nature really lets you do that elegant dance of death with the monster super well. And then you go all the way to like 4th gen, where you've now still got that, you know, initial triple charge, but you've got the follow-ups, the super swipe, and can do a little bit more after landing it. And then to the craziness in Generations Ultimate, where you're valoring and leaping forward to unleash your charge, and that gives you a whole world of mobility we'd never experienced, to then World and Iceborne, which I genuinely believe to be peak greatsword.
Of course, not including anything to do with the clutch claw, let's not be ridiculous.
And that is chiefly because of true charge, which I think has become one of the most iconic just moves in Monster Hunter. From carefully lining it up through wake-up hits to that satisfaction of landing it and seeing the monster go reeling, it is just revered as this big, hard-hitting smack that any weapon would be jealous of. And I think it has also shifted the power to the end, of course, of the greatsword combo, so we have more reason to find more time and more openings to go through the full charged combo, and that is definitively a good thing for the weapon. We keep that timing-based playstyle, that charge-based playstyle, but we have more and more rewards the longer and better of an opening you can craft yourself via better knowledge of the monster. And then we got Rise and Sunbreak. Sunbreak I've already expressed my feelings on, but Rise specifically is interesting. We got a little bit of extra mobility with things like Adamant Slash, but I think the focus should be put on Rage Slash, which has done something, in my mind, very special, and it's built off, well, Shoulder Tackle being introduced in World. Shoulder Tackle, I also think now has become very much synonymous and iconic with the greatsword, the ability to power through attacks. But Shoulder Tackle crawled so that Rage Slash could run. And it's therein that I want to propose my first of two general direction ideas for this weapon. The first, then, being the Hyper Armor weapon. The weapon that takes damage to do damage. The Rocksteady Mantle weapon. You know where I'm getting at? Because Greatsword is perfect for it. It's just its style, right? You have this experience where you take big hits from monster and then give back even bigger hits. It's this real push and shove, and honestly, playing Rage Slash kind of gives me this vibe.
Incredible valor! Respectable muscles!
Where there's just this understanding between you and the monster that you can both handle the worst of what each other can give, and you just keep exchanging blows until eventually one of you can't move anymore. And I think it really speaks to Greatsword as a weapon and its identity. It's not this classic, perhaps hit and run charge timing, though timing is still a big part of it. You can't just stand there taking attacks and not returning them properly because you will just die. Rage Slash still had to be carefully used at the appropriate moment, but it gives this sort of big beefy feeling to the big beefy weapon. So a situation where you have lots of moves, new or retooled existing ones like Rage Slash, where you can exchange hits, take damage but not get knocked back, dig your feet in, and then return with a boosted strike is something that I think is really cool, and I would be really happy if the Monster Hunter 6 direction for Greatsword was, as I say, that Hyper Armor weapon. A weapon that spends its time taking damage to do damage, in a ratio that's obviously balanced in a way that you still have to think about. You can't just recklessly absorb everything, but it plays along that Shoulder Tackle to Rage Slash to whatever comes next. This way of making it happen, because we don't have a weapon like that, really. We have plenty of counter weapons, of blocking weapons. Greatsword does not need to be a counter weapon nor a blocking weapon. It's been able to block for the longest time, but it's always been terrible, and the counter is fun, but it's not really Greatsword. So actually making one of the 14 all about literally taking monster attacks as opposed to avoiding them in some capacity, I think is very neat, because I don't think anything was quite as satisfying as taking a ultimate attack with Rage Slash, going down to half health, and then unleashing this colossal crit on a now recovering monster after it just exerted itself. It really is brilliant. The other path, then, that I would be more than happy with is taking a leaf out of Frontier's book, specifically with Extreme Style Greatsword being able to sprint with the Greatsword unsheathed. And you might be there like, whoa, 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 whoa. Greatsword is the slowest weapon by design. That would give it way too many advantages. And actually, I would put it to you that that's not true. I would make an argument that Greatsword is the most mobile weapon in the game, maybe still second to Dual Blades. Why do I say that? Well, answer me this question, or at least these questions too. When is a hunter most mobile? The answer, when their weapon is sheathed. Which weapon spends the most time with their weapon sheathed? The answer is Greatsword. Ergo, Greatsword is the most mobile weapon. Look, I know there is lots of grey areas, there's lots of situations, that is a very broad thing to say, but there is some truth to it. So the idea of actually giving Greatsword the ability to sort of, well, run with the Greatsword out, maybe we of course make it a little bit less ridiculous like it is in Frontier, where it's just all of your movement, there's no real penalty, you can go in any direction, it's as fast as sprinting. Obviously balance it. Maybe just straight lines and turning is very slow or almost impossible. Make it tank stamina. Make it have considerations before going into it. But the idea of having pure straight line burst unsheathed movement is definitely, I think, something to work with. With the animation of True Charge, that over-the-top arcing shape, you could totally see that happening on the end of a long sprint. It might be faster to go into True Charge from standing, but if you have a long enough run-up, then you could arrive and then go into this acrobatic True Charge after running with your greatsword out. And I think that genuinely has a lot of potential too. It also is a little bit like the Valor Leap Forward Slash that greatsword got, and there could be a lot of fun to explore there. So essentially, for me, we take the World and Iceborne moveset, minus the Clutch Claw as the core, and then evolve it into a Hyper Armor tanking monsters attack moveset and playstyle, or evolve it into a straight line burst mobility moveset with a little bit of Frontier sprinkled in, which, you know, isn't impossible these days with how much Frontier is being sprinkled in. And I think that is a very cool couple of directions. And of course I would love to know your thoughts on both, and indeed hidden option C that you have no doubt thought of too. So do let me know. I love reading these little discussions that we have, and well, until we meet again, consider liking if you did indeed like, subscribing for more, and supporting the future of this channel's existence on Patreon down below. It does mean a lot, and it's insanely appreciated. A goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.